Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Teach. Catch that BD. He actually harmed his own brother. Sachi, wake up. Dad, Sachi. Sachi. Sachi is dead. Chaos reigned on the Moby DK. Under the cover of night, people carrying torches searched everywhere for Teach. Inside the room, Marco, Yozu, Vista, Ace, and the others surrounded the area, their faces ashen and practically dripping with rage. The air was deathly still. In the center, Sachi's cold body lay in a pool of blood, dried blood at the corner of his mouth, clearly indicating he had been dead for some time. Damn it! That BD Teach! Ace clutched his hair in self-reproach, looking at Satchel in anguish. Teach was his teammate, and now he had committed such a heinous act of harming his own comrade. As the team leader, he is undoubtedly responsible. Teach, I'm going to kill that BD with my own hands. Ace's expression grew increasingly agitated, on the verge of exploding. He stood up and was about to rush out to grab Teach. Ace. Marco, his face dark, grabbed Ace and said coldly, Ace, let's wait until Dad gets here. Ace, this isn't your fault. Yozu patted him on the shoulder, comforting him, that BD Teach, nobody knows what he's thinking, but he did something like this, he's going to die sooner or later. Ace struggled to look up at Sachi, pursed his lips, and said nothing, but his clenched fist looked like it could smash a mountain. Just then, an untimely, bewildered voice rang out. Holy crap! Is this still in Daxia? Ace? Yozu? Vista the Flower? Marco? Dude, I've arrived in the world of One Piece. This is amazing. Ron looked around in shock and confusion, his gaze meeting the eyes of the crowd. They stared at each other, and for a moment, the air fell silent. It seems I woke up at the worst possible time. At this moment, Ron also noticed Sachi's corpse on the ground, and considering the current situation, he realized their predicament. Especially these people, they have such murderous looks in their eyes. Who are you? Marco frowned. He had never seen this person before, he was very suspicious. The others also noticed Ron, shaking their heads to indicate they didn't know him either. They drew their weapons and approached Ron with hostility, seemingly eager to take him down immediately. This guy looks so fair and delicate, he's definitely not a good person. That's right, they're definitely in cahoots with that BD Teach. Arrest him and kill him. Stop. He's the person Sachi and I rescued. Ace raised his hand in time to stop everyone. Marco and the others looked at Ace with suspicion. Ace didn't mince words and directly revealed Ron's background. Yesterday, Sachi and I encountered a group of pirates. On our way back after defeating them, we saw this guy unconscious and adrift at sea, so we rescued him. Ace was silent for a moment, then looked up at Ron, seemingly remembering Satch, and sighed, I wanted to wait for him to wake up before letting him leave, but I never expected Satch to suddenly die. It turns out that Sachi just happened to save someone. The captain is so great, but why can't good people live longer? After Ron was cleared of suspicion, the group's attention shifted from him, and they returned to their grief. 2 or 3 minutes later, Ron then realized that he had indeed traveled through time. In my past life, I stayed up all night to rank up, only to lose more than 10 games in a row, until I encountered Cai Wenji as a jungler, and finally I was so angry that I couldn't catch my breath. Fortunately, I time traveled. Unfortunately, dressed in clothing, and with the sturdy physique of an earthly college student, he was pitifully weak. Especially in this vicious world of pirates, they are simply at the bottom. And if Sachi hadn't pulled him out of the sea, it might not even survive a single chapter. Since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it. Where is the system? Ron silently called out to the system. In his previous life, besides playing games, he loved reading light novels. But after waiting for a while, no system notification sound was heard. Oh no! Could it be that there's no system? At that moment, the previously chaotic pirates instantly fell silent. Then a broad figure, as large as a small mountain, walked in. Whitebeard. Ron's pupils contracted slightly, he really was a giant. A height of 6.66 meters is only commonplace in this pirate world where monsters abound. Whitebeard's eyes were cold, but beneath them simmered a volcanic rage. He walked forward step by step, and the surrounding temperature plummeted, instantly enveloping the area in a chilling atmosphere. Ron couldn't help but shiver, swallowing hard. Is this what it means to be a strong person? Even with 4 lines inserted and bandages wrapped around his body, his life was nearing its end. But the domineering aura of the strong still remains. Ron sighed inwardly, his eyes slightly closed. He knew what would happen next without even looking. Thatch's death enraged Whitebeard, who issued a worldwide manhunt for Teach. Later, Ace volunteered. In the end, however, he was captured by Teach and handed over to the World Conquest in order to seize the position of Shishibukai. Then came the famous and classic battle, the start of the Marineford War. Ron was very familiar with it, he had watched the Marineford War storyline more than once. Whether he will reveal these things depends on his future actions. It would be best to stay here. After all, he was just a fragile college student, without any fighting skills or means of self-defense. In this dark pirate world, you might get bitten to death by wild beasts as soon as you arrive on a deserted island. But the Whitebeard pirates do not accept useless people. But he didn't want to be someone else's son. Thinking this way, Whitebeard sighed, his right hand brushing across Thatch's forehead, and Thatch's eyes, which had refused to close for so long, finally shut. Sachi! Dad will avenge you! Whitebeard rose coldly, roaring, "Sons! Issue a kill order! Issue a worldwide warrant for that BD Teach! Yes! We must kill that BD Teach! That damned BD, he actually harmed his own brother! Dad, this is all my fault! I volunteered to hunt down Teach! I promise I'll bring him alive to you and make him confess in front of Sachi!" Ace's face was contorted with rage, tears streaming down his face as he looked at Whitebeard with a mixture of pleading and anger. He hoped Whitebeard would grant his request. Whitebeard remained silent. Tisk tisk tisk. Ron shook his head inwardly. This trip had just set the stage for the Marineford War. At the same time, the familiar ding sound in his mind filled Ron with joy. That beautiful sound, if I'm not mistaken. The system must have received the funds. Really? Ding! Super high-tech system activated. Newcomer gift pack now available. Congratulations, host, you have acquired the Devil Fruit Enchantment Technique. Devil Fruit Enchantment Technology, as the name suggests, it can enchant a user with additional abilities. There are no restrictions on the abilities. Logia, Paramecia, and Zoan types are all possible. First time success rate, 100%. Chapter 2. Tongzi, you've got some skills. Ron gave the system a big thumbs up, and thought, this ability is just too awesome. Devil Fruit Enchantment? Wouldn't that mean possessing the abilities of others? You should know that in the world of One Piece, obtaining a Devil Fruit is difficult in itself. Obtaining the Devil Fruit ability you desire is even more difficult. Most people will never come into contact with Devil Fruits in their entire lives. Only a few people possess the abilities of Devil Fruits. But abilities are mostly random. It can be said that, aside from a very small number of people who have the right to choose Devil Fruits, everyone else was passive. Even some people are originally very strong, but after eating a Devil Fruit, their appearance and physique change, ultimately leading to a decline in their overall strength and making them just another ordinary person. But now, all these difficulties disappeared with Ron. He can be imbued with devil fruit powers. In other words, anyone can get the power they want from Ron. Who? Ron took a deep breath, and after confirming his understanding of his abilities several times, his expression turned somewhat grim, because the devil fruit enchanting technique was not priceless. It also requires financial support. One enchantment costs 1 billion berries. Fortunately, the first time success rate is 100%. This gave him a lot of room to maneuver. In that case, he made plans for his future. Dad! Let me go! Ace roared again, his face contorted with barely suppressed rage. That BD Teach did something like this, and as the captain, I'm culpable. There's no one more suitable than me here. Seeing Ace's pained and remorseful expression, Whitebeard knew he couldn't stop Ace. Even if she rejects him now, he will find a chance to sneak away and go to Teach later. Rather than that, it would be better to agree to let him go, and he has confidence in Ace's abilities. All right, since you insist on going, then we can't go. A sudden sound interrupted the two, drawing everyone's attention. Ace, somewhat taken aback, stiffly turned to look at Ron. You're going to stop me? Could it be that you're connected to Teach too? As he spoke, Ace's tone grew increasingly hostile, and his eyes became extremely dangerous. Seeing this, the other henchmen's eyes turned dangerous, and they involuntarily gripped their weapons tighter. Whitebeard also noticed Ron, his 6-meter-tall frame looking down at him. A powerful pressure washed over him, and Ron involuntarily swallowed hard before hurriedly speaking. Don't get me wrong, I have absolutely no connection with Teach. Besides, Satchel saved my life, and Teach is my enemy. Ace stared into Ron's eyes and, finding he didn't seem to be lying, softened his tone slightly. Then why did you stop me? Ron, I'm not trying to stop you, I just think it's a bit inappropriate to go after Teach right now. Ace frowned. Right now, all he could think about was revenge, and he couldn't think of anything else. On the other side, Whitebeard's eyes flickered slightly upon hearing Ron's words. Oh! He became interested, but his face remained cold. Why not? What do you know? Seeing their father speak, the others curiously listened in as well. Ace patiently looked at Ron, waiting for his answer. Ahem. Ron coughed twice, feeling a little uncomfortable being stared at by so many people all of a sudden, but he couldn't worry about that now. If he wanted to stay in the Whitebeard Pirates, he had to prove his worth. Didn't you all think carefully about why Teach would dare to kill so openly, especially knowing the consequences of betrayal, and still choose to do it? Upon hearing Ron's question, Marco was the first to frown. Does he have another powerful backer? One of the 4 emperors. Ron shook his head. You might not believe it, but Teach is quite strong, especially in hand-to-hand combat. He was even able to injure Shanks. Shanks? You're just bragging. Teach is just a lowly member, how could he possibly hurt red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors? This guy's still half asleep. Ignoring the other's mockery, Whitebeard frowned, as if remembering something. You said the scar on Shanks' eye was inflicted by Teach. Ron was slightly surprised, but after thinking about it, he understood. Whitebeard and Shanks were both Yonko, emperors of the sea, so some secrets weren't secrets among them. That's right. Whitebeard fell silent, his gaze gradually growing serious. Seeing their father's solemn expression, the others couldn't help but gasp in astonishment, utterly shocked. Was Teach's physical skills really that amazing? Marco frowned, then helplessly patted Ace on the shoulder. Teach is meticulous and keeps his true intentions hidden. His physical skills are comparable to those of the 4 emperors. Let's not go for now. Ace's eyes gleamed with ferocity and resentment, his teeth grinding together in anger. So what if I'm good at physical combat? I'm a Logia-type Devil Fruit user with the Flame Fruit, that can completely make up for any shortcomings in my physical abilities. He was still unwilling to give up. He recalled the days when he drank happily with Sachi, and another wave of heartache washed over him. He had to avenge Sachi. Humph! You brute! Ron mocked without reservation. If Ace hadn't been so arrogant, he wouldn't have been captured by Teach. During the Marineford War, he was mocked by Akainu and mindlessly turned to fight an admiral, ultimately being killed. Ron was really angry back then, but he never expected to encounter this scene now that he has traveled to the world of One Piece. That's why he didn't hesitate to make sarcastic remarks. What? You're calling me a brute? Ace roared angrily, Sachi saved you, and all you do is mock me. Ron snorted coldly. Do you know what devil fruit Blackbeard stole? So what if it's the dark fruit? My flame fruit is enough to defeat him. Ace retorted defiantly, very confident in his own strength. You know about the dark fruit? Ron couldn't help but ask, which immediately stunned Ace. I don't know. Humph. Well, let me tell you. Anyone touched by a dark fruit user, regardless of their devil fruit power, will temporarily lose their ability and become an ordinary person. Ron narrowed his eyes as he looked at Ace. Do you think you can harm Teach with your physical skills after you lose your powers? Upon hearing Ron's words, Aston froze, his eyes filled with disbelief. Impossible. The dark fruit can temporarily strip other devil fruit users of their abilities, turning them into ordinary people. He had initially thought the dark fruit was just a Logia-type devil fruit, but he never expected it to possess such a bizarre ability. If Teach were to touch him and cause him to lose his powers, he would definitely be no match for Teach and would likely be captured. The thought of the consequences of being caught filled me with dread. I'm sorry, it was my fault, I was reckless. Chapter 3. The dark fruit is so strange. Marco frowned. Moreover, because of Teach's special physique, he can use the dark fruit to master the abilities of 2 fruits again. At that time, it will become the only user of 3 devil fruits on this vast ocean. Everyone else was stunned. A user with 3 devil fruit abilities? That's incredibly powerful. Unbelievable. Luckily, Ron told them, otherwise it would have been troublesome if Ace had been captured by Teach. I never imagined the dark fruit would be so bizarre, it actually allows someone to control 3 devil fruits. Teach is truly scheming. Yes, thanks to Ron, things would have been much worse if he hadn't told us. So what do we do now? How about we all hunt down Teach together and take him down? A group of people started talking excitedly, clamoring to go after Teach together. He couldn't possibly control everyone with just one hand. Ron had to admire how incredibly clever these pirates were. Dad, what do you suggest? We'll do whatever you say. Everyone looked at Whitebeard, awaiting his command. Whitebeard frowned. The dark fruit was indeed as terrifying as that man. Even back then, it was just bad timing, he was defeated by Garp and Roger working together. Now that Teach has obtained the dark fruit, this sea is destined to be anything but calm. But the murder of his own brothers on his ship is absolutely unforgivable. His gaze then fell on Ron, and he realized that the young man knew far more than what appeared to be simple. Moreover, he stopped Ace, which was tantamount to saving his life, so he wasn't a bad person at heart. Thinking of this, he looked at Ron. Ron, what are your thoughts? Upon hearing this, Ron was somewhat surprised that Whitebeard was asking for his opinion. He's not even a crew member now, he only has a voice because Sachi saved his life, but that's about it. Now that Whitebeard is actually asking for his thoughts, it seems he's gradually gaining some influence in the others' eyes. My thinking is very simple. Ron smiled, looked at everyone, and slowly began to speak. There are many ways to take revenge, but killing the other person is the worst and lowest way. Hiss. The group of pirates were completely bewildered. What was going on? Is killing the other person the worst way to get revenge? Isn't this what they always do? Before anyone could say anything, Ron continued. And the most sophisticated way to take revenge is simple: make the other person live, but suffer a fate worse than death. Ron's voice was chilling, like a gust of cold wind sweeping in from the deepest hell. Make him live in fear every day, unable to sleep at night, and constantly worried about being killed. To make him live in constant fear, to drive him to the brink of a mental breakdown, to the point where he even worries that a passing bird might kill him. This is the right way to get revenge. Everyone stared at Ron in horror, a flicker of fear in their eyes. The mere thought of that scene made their legs tremble uncontrollably. This guy looked like a pretty boy, but I never expected him to be so ruthless. What about killing the other party outright, seeking swift revenge? That's all child's play. The ultimate form of revenge is to make your opponent live in constant fear, terror, and despair. As expected, they weren't pirates at all. Ron is the real pirate. Whitebeard was also slightly shocked by what Ron said. He hadn't expected this young man to be so ruthless. Snort! An untimely snort rang out, and Ace retorted somewhat indignantly. Easier said than done. Teach isn't some fragile little pirate. And what do we have that could frighten him? Even though his father was one of the 4 emperors, this guy dared to kill someone on his father's ship. Do you think he'll be scared? Moreover, after some time, once Teach became a user of 3 devil fruits, his power became unstoppable. In addition, there's Dad's health. Ace didn't say the rest, but everyone knew what he meant. My father's health is really failing, he's getting worse every day and can only be kept alive by 4 drips. My body really isn't what it used to be. That guy Teach, who dared to do something like that, isn't afraid of me at all. Whitebeard picked up the conversation, speaking with a hint of sadness. Dad. Everyone fell silent. Right now, they relied on the remaining prestige of Whitebeard to intimidate the sea and prevent those people from going too far. If Whitebeard really dies and falls from his pedestal as one of the 4 emperors, what does Teach have to fear? Marco stepped forward and patted Ron on the shoulder. We know you mean well, and we appreciate it, but Dad's health doesn't allow this to drag on any longer. Teach must die. He must pay the price for what he did. As he spoke, he turned to Whitebeard, ready to volunteer to take down Teach. Seeing this, Ron knew his chance had come. He immediately reached out and blocked Marco's chest, looking up at Whitebeard, then scanning the surroundings. The captain won't die, on the contrary, he'll live another 20 years. Ron's words echoed in everyone's ears without being missed. The group was first shocked, then stared at Ron in disbelief, as if he were an idiot. What? Dude, are you running a fever? Have you lost your mind? I don't mean any disrespect to Dad, but we all know his health, it's impossible for it to be like what you're saying. That's wishful thinking. If you can make Dad better, I'll do anything you ask Jaws to do. Jaws was telling the truth. Seeing his father covered in tubes of all sizes every day made him feel terrible. Kid, thank you for your kindness, but I know my body is failing me, every day I live is one day less, and I won't get better. Ron shook his head, coughed twice, and looked at everyone seriously as he spoke. Ahem. To be honest, I'm actually a scientist. My area of research is devil fruits. We have already achieved a breakthrough, enabling us to transfer one person's abilities to another. While it shares similarities with the dark fruit, it is far more advanced and lacks its doubled painful side effects. Everyone was stunned. Marco stepped forward and stared intently into Ron's eyes, then reached out and touched his forehead. You don't have a fever, so why are you talking nonsense? Ron removed Marco's hand and said seriously. I'm not joking, and my research hasn't been without its costs. All things considered, one enchanted devil fruit is worth 1 billion berries. Seeing how serious Ron was, Marco realized he wasn't joking. If what you're saying is true, then Dad might really be saved. Of course it's true. Marco glanced at the Whitebeard with excitement, his eyes brimming with joy. If that's the case, then Dad can simply add my abilities to it. The animal series boasts formidable regenerative abilities, and the phoenix form possesses remarkable self-healing capabilities. It can completely heal my father's long-standing hidden injuries, and may even greatly restore his vitality. Even bringing Dad back to his peak isn't impossible. Marco became more and more excited as he spoke, as if he could already see his father returning to his peak condition. The other pirates were also very excited. If their father had really returned to his peak, it would definitely be a surprise for everyone. Those who are eager to make a move will definitely be shocked. But clearly, some people still didn't believe it, thinking Ron was lying to them. Ron shrugged, saying, "There's nothing I can do if you don't believe me." Finally, everyone's eyes turned to Whitebeard, waiting for the old man to make his decision. "I believe in Ron." Chapter 4. The few words that came out of the white-bearded man's mouth warmed Ron's heart. Whitebeard simply couldn't see what benefit Ron could gain from deceiving him. Moreover, because of Sachi's life-saving grace, he trusted Ron much more. At this moment, Vista, the foil fencer, came out, his face full of worry. "Dad, we're running low on money on the ship. Even if we add up all the under armor, it's only enough for Ron to do 2 experiments." Whitebeard frowned. "Only 2 billion berries left." "Yes. Dad, you know we don't usually collect protection money unless it's a special case." Ron also promptly reminded her, enchanting a devil fruit isn't 100% successful, there's a chance of failure. The others weren't surprised by Ron's mention of the chance of failure, on the contrary, it would be abnormal if there were no chance of failure. After all, the idea of someone gaining a second devil fruit ability is already absurd enough. "Don't worry, Ron, just focus on your experiments. You don't need to worry about the money," Vista reassured him. "That's right, as long as we can get Dad better, we'll sell everything we own to make money." Marco's eyes were full of anticipation. Ace pulled out all the money he had and hurriedly stuffed it into Ron's hand. "Brother Ron, I'm begging you." Feeling the unique atmosphere of this pirate crew, Ron smiled, a warm feeling washing over him. There was no deceit or treachery, everyone wanted the best for each other and treated each other with sincerity. This was the kind of pirate crew he wanted to be with. "I will do my best, and besides, I believe the captain's luck won't be that bad." Ron didn't reveal that the first attempt had a 100% success rate, as that would only cause more trouble. He decided to keep it to himself, only he knew. There was another reason for keeping him on Whitebeard's ship. That means the next skill will only be unlocked after 10 enchantments. Although I don't know what technology it is, it's something Brother Tongza provided, so it can't be bad. A few days later, on the surging sea, pairs of seagulls flew low, frolicking and playing, filling the air with a joyful atmosphere. On the deck, Ron lay leisurely on the deck, sunbathing, with a small table beside him laden with wine, fruit, snacks, and other items. Ever since they learned that Ron could cure their father's illness, the group of pirates have been extremely obsequious to him, almost to the point of fawning. They treated her like a precious gem, afraid of hurting her if they held her in their hands or letting her melt if they kept her in their mouth. They would do their best to fulfill any request, even if Ron wanted the stars in the sky, they would find a way to do it. In response, Ron was somewhat helpless, and even stated more than once that they didn't have to do this. But they wouldn't listen to Ron. Since Ron didn't make any demands, they would do their best in their own way. After Ron said nothing more and let them do as they pleased. "Ron, Ron, hurry!" A series of urgent shouts rang out, and Jaws excitedly pointed ahead and shouted. "That's Jaya Island! We've finally arrived!" "So fast?" Ron got up and went to the ship's railing, took the binoculars from Jaws and looked through them. Sure enough, I saw the familiar outline of the round island with the notch. Of course, from the sky, the shape of Jaya Island looks a bit like a large round biscuit, with the bite taken out of its edge. That's right, that's Jaya Island. Ron's lips curled up slightly. We've finally arrived. We've amassed quite a bit of funds these past few days, Marco said with satisfaction as he jumped down from the mast, looking towards Jaya Island. But we're still a bit short of 3 enchanted fruits. We should be able to gather 3 once we get to the island. Then, looking at Ron, he still seemed a little incredulous and asked. Ron, are we really going to set up camp on this island? That's right. Ron nodded. The experimental base must be stable. It's inevitable to rock and sway on the open sea. If something goes wrong, it'll be a real problem. Ace walked over and nodded in agreement. Let's listen to Ron. Better safe than sorry. Since Ron explained Teach's situation, he indirectly saved Ace's life. This made Ace treat Ron even better, and because of Satchel, he trusted Ron a great deal. Ron looked towards Jaya Island, a barely perceptible smile playing on his lips. According to the original storyline, Blackbeard will pass through this area and then meet Luffy. I just wonder if his early arrival on Jaya Island will change the original plot. If everything follows the original plot, that would be awesome. I wonder what Teach's expression will be when he sees Whitebeard all alive and well, and with 2 powers. That would be quite a sight. We'll be stationed here for a long time, and once we have absolute strength, we'll conquer the entire ocean. Ron declared confidently. The others were also infected by Ron's rage, roaring as they vowed to conquer the sea. Jaya Island boasts a unique geographical location, surrounded by clear waters. The island is not only scenic but also rich in natural resources. With its pleasant climate and year-round spring-like weather, Jaya Island is an ideal resupply point for many passing pirate ships and merchant vessels. As a result, the port of Jaya Island is always exceptionally busy, filled with all kinds of ships, from small speedboats to huge pirate fleets. Due to the frequent visits of pirates, a series of facilities have gradually developed on the island to provide services specifically for these sea adventurers. In addition to essential food, fresh water, and repair services, many entertainment venues appeared, such as taverns, casinos, and even makeshift small theaters. These places became good spots for pirates to relax and enjoy life. As time went on, more and more merchants saw the business opportunities and came to Jaya Island to open shops or provide services. There was even a slave business involving various races. However, when a place is filled with too many people of different personalities who are accustomed to solving problems with violence, conflict becomes inevitable. Especially in a world where strength reigns supreme, disputes over resources or personal grudges are often resolved through direct confrontation. This has led to frequent and fierce battles on Jaya Island, sometimes even threatening the safety of ordinary residents. Even so, for those who yearn for freedom and adventure, Jaya Island remains a place they long for, attracting wave after wave of pirates. But the once arrogant pirates were now as docile as kittens. Because standing in front of them was a Yonko, 4 emperors, pirate crew. Whitebeard. What's going on? Why aren't the 4 emperors going to the New World? Why are they looking for us newbies? SHH, keep your voice down. The 4 emperors' pirate crews are ruthless killers. You'll lose your life if you do. Who is that young man? I've never seen him before, and he's chatting and laughing with the white-bearded man. His identity is definitely extraordinary, he's even standing in front of Marco. Outrageous. This kind of positioning is good enough for a first mate. Chapter 5. Everything went as Ron had predicted. They captured Jaya Island with remarkable ease and without breaking a sweat. After all, the reputation of the 4 emperors is legendary. Who would dare to challenge them? After arriving at Jaya Island, Ron chose a very large estate as his experimental base. The manor is located in the center of the island, slightly towards the rear. Surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and facing water on 1 side. The geographical location was extremely advantageous, and the fortifications had been reinforced time and again by Jaws and his men. Meanwhile, Marco and the proactive Ace cleared away the surrounding potential threats multiple times, eliminating many large beasts and making them their prey. They even killed every single mosquito. After all, Ron is an ordinary person now, and we must protect his safety and prevent any accidents from happening. Ron then began his experiment. After all, the necessary steps had to be taken, and every researcher has a laboratory. 1 week later. Inside the hall. The white-bearded man sat imposingly in his seat, his arms and chest riddled with 4 tubes. His breathing was weak, his eyes were glazed, and he was in very poor condition. Even so, he still insisted on drinking. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Dad doesn't have a single word about that BD. Is Ron mistaken? Marco frowned slightly and glanced in the direction of Ron's lab. A week has passed, and there's still no news from Ron's experiment. I have a bad feeling about it. Could it have failed? Ace had the same premonition. Every time I go to check, Ron stops me at the door. Could the experiment have really failed? That's 3 billion berries. Upon hearing this, Jaws jumped to his feet, speechless, his anger evident on his face. I told you Ron wasn't good. Before the words were finished, everyone was suddenly interrupted by a deafening roar, as if a thunderclap had exploded in the sky. Immediately afterwards, 3 dazzling golden rays, like the first rays of sunlight at dawn, pierced through the thick clouds and shot straight into the sky. The light was dazzling, carrying an indescribable mystery and power, making it clear at a glance that something extraordinary was about to appear. The surrounding air seemed to tremble, and an irrepressible surge of excitement and anticipation welled up in everyone's heart. Could it be? Everyone's attention was completely drawn to the 3 golden beams of light, holding their breath and staring intently, afraid of missing even a moment of this miracle. Whitebeard stood up excitedly, his eyes fixed on the 3 golden lights, and he even held his breath for a few seconds. There, that's Ron's direction, could it really have succeeded? Marco also excitedly turned around to look in the direction of the golden light. This feeling can't be wrong. And only a successful experiment could produce such a golden light. Ha ha ha, I knew Brother Ron wouldn't fail. Ace was overjoyed and rushed out without saying another word. Let's go take a look. Whitebeard ripped the 4 tube off his body, the metallic tube drew an arc in the air and made a crisp sound. The movements were swift and decisive, as if all the pain and weakness had been left behind in that moment. He took 2 steps at a time and rushed out at an astonishing speed, each step causing the ground to tremble slightly, demonstrating his undiminished strength and determination. Hiss! Upon seeing this, Marco's eyelids twitched violently a few times, and he gasped inwardly. Without the slightest hesitation, Marco immediately followed. He knew that at this crucial moment, while he was excited, as a member of the team, it was more important to ensure his father's safety and not let him encounter any accidents at this critical juncture. A short while later, everyone in the room had left. Only Jaws was left standing there, dumbfounded. He had thought Ron would fail, but to his surprise, he actually succeeded. This guy couldn't have succeeded earlier, couldn't have succeeded later, but he had to wait until I was about to say he failed, and then he succeeded. He's definitely trying to mess with me. Snort. After letting out a cold snort, Jaws quickly got up and followed. If Ron can really cure his father, he will definitely keep his promise. On the other side, Ron looked at the 3 devil fruits laid out in front of him with a smug grin, inwardly grumbling to himself. This thing is way too expensive. 1 billion berries. And it's not 100% successful. In such cases, the cost is even higher. Ordinary pirate crews simply cannot afford it. Furthermore, to obtain the new technologies provided by the system, one must complete the system's current tasks. Successfully enchanted 10 devil fruits. It looks easy, but it's actually not simple at all, especially considering the cost, which is enormous. Fortunately, he managed to stay with the Whitebeard pirates, otherwise, even with the system, it would have been useless. Just as Ron was lost in his own thoughts, suddenly, a series of hurried footsteps came from outside the door. The sound grew clearer and clearer as it approached, seemingly carrying an undisguised urgency and excitement. Hearing those familiar footsteps, Ron couldn't help but smile knowingly. He knew that the person he had been waiting for had arrived. Sure enough, the next moment, a loud bang shattered the silence in the room. The tightly closed door was suddenly pushed open with a powerful force, making a dull but loud sound. Immediately afterwards, with Ace and Marco carefully supporting him, Whitebeard slowly walked in. Although he looked slightly tired, his eyes shone with an irrepressible joy. When his gaze fell upon the 3 pure white devil fruits laid out on the table, he froze instantly. At that moment, time seemed to stand still, and an indescribable atmosphere filled the air. It took him a while to come to his senses, his eyes filled with excitement and disbelief. Ron stepped forward and explained, "Captain, these are the enchanted devil fruits, but there's one last step." He then looked at Marco, "Captain Marco, you need to drip 3 drops of blood onto each of the 3 devil fruits for them to complete the final step." "No problem." Marco excitedly stepped forward, pricked his finger, and carefully and tremblingly dripped his blood onto the wound. The moment the pure white devil fruit came into contact with the blood, it seemed to activate some kind of mysterious power. It began to rapidly absorb the surrounding blood, like a long-dried sponge suddenly encountering water. Immediately afterwards, the fruit emitted a dazzling blue light, so intense that it was almost blinding. As time went on, the blue light gradually became brighter, as if it was about to break through some limit and burst into flames. During this process, the surface of the devil fruit also underwent an astonishing change. Suddenly, a series of complex and bizarre patterns appeared on the originally smooth and flawless skin. These patterns spread rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye, eventually covering the entire fruit. Each pattern emits a faint blue light, giving it a feeling that is both beautiful and dangerous. Just as everyone held their breath and stared, unable to believe their eyes. In just a few seconds, the 3 devil fruits had transformed. Each of them emitted a soft yet undeniable blue glow, resting quietly on the test bench, like the brightest stars in the night sky. This scene left everyone present dumbfounded, filled with shock and doubt. Ron was telling the truth. 3 Mythical Zoan Phoenixes. Chapter 6. Everyone rubbed their eyes in disbelief, examining the 3 identical devil fruits placed before them again and again, and discovered that they were indeed real. Each one is a Zoan-type bird fruit, mythical Zoan type, phoenix form. Marco's eyes widened in shock. He took 2 shaky steps forward, hardly believing his eyes. He reached out and carefully touched the surface of one of the devil fruits to confirm its authenticity. The smooth, cold touch made him even more certain that this was not an illusion. Marco's voice trembled slightly as he murmured, This really is exactly the same as the one I ate. It's unbelievable." Others gathered around, each with an expression of surprise and confusion. "Ron is amazing. She actually did it. Slap me. Am I dreaming? Holy crap. Why did you kick my genitals? That hurts like hell." An incredible atmosphere filled the air, everyone was awestruck by this miraculous discovery. Marco took a deep breath, trying to calm his excitement. "That's certainly true." Ron stepped forward, picked up one of the devil fruits, and handed it to Whitebeard. "Captain, give it a try." Whitebeard smiled, didn't restrain him, took the devil fruit from Ron's hand, and gave him a deep look. "Won't it explode?" No." Ron scratched his head awkwardly, not expecting Whitebeard to have this concern at this time. He was about to explain when he was interrupted. "Gururara, Ron the brat, thank you." If it works, you'll be my son. Ron. The others laughed heartily, their gazes towards Ron becoming more pleasing, a sign of their approval of their comrade. Whitebeard didn't hesitate and swallowed it in one gulp under everyone's gaze. He slowly closed his eyes, as if trying to capture every subtle sensation. Those around him held their breath, watching intently, as if even their breathing had become cautious, for fear of disturbing the white-bearded man. Their tension grew as time went on, and their palms involuntarily clenched until they were damp and cold. Every pair of eyes was fixed on the white-bearded man, their gazes filled with anticipation and unease. An indescribable tension permeated the air, yet a glimmer of hope shone through. They were all silently praying in their hearts, "You have to succeed, Dad." Ron wasn't worried at all, because the instant he picked up the devil fruit, he mentally activated the 100% success on first attempt skill. Therefore, Whitebeard could not possibly fail. Really? Before long, snow-white flames began to burn on the white-bearded man's body. This flame doesn't feel scorching, instead, it's full of vibrant life. As time went on, it became visibly clear that his wounds were healing rapidly. First the bleeding stopped, then the skin began to scab over, and then the new tissue gradually replaced the damaged parts. The whole process was like turning back time, all the wounds healed completely. His breathing gradually became steady, no longer as rapid and heavy as before. She looks as if she has become 20 years younger, not only with a significant change in appearance, but also with a completely refreshed mental state. His eyes, which had been slightly tired from the battle, regained their luster, revealing an indescribable sense of power. At this moment, the surrounding air seemed to be infected by this breath of new life, becoming exceptionally fresh and full of vitality. "Dad, he did it. Dad really has dual abilities. Great. That idiot Teach schemed so hard to get 2 abilities, but Dad got them so easily. Thank you, Brother Ron. Back off. The flames on Dad's body are getting bigger." Seeing this, everyone hurriedly retreated, quickly clearing the area, because they saw that the flames on Whitebeard's body were becoming more and more intense and the area they covered was getting larger and larger. The flames were like a raging inferno, radiating intense heat that kept people at bay. Then, the flames contracted rapidly, forming a cocoon-like structure that enveloped the white-bearded man. This cocoon looked very peculiar, it was made of flames, yet it was able to completely envelop the white-beard. Everyone felt that the white-bearded man's life force was growing stronger and stronger, as if a ferocious beast was locked inside. They couldn't help but marvel at the sheer power of this force. My father was able to control such a fierce flame and convert it into his own power. A phoenix cocoon. Marco stared at the cocoon before him in astonishment, so excited he was almost incoherent. In this form, the body can recover to its maximum potential, healing long-standing injuries and chronic ailments. Not long after, with a crisp crack sound, it was as if fragile glass had finally shattered under immense pressure. Immediately afterwards, the enormous cocoon formed from white flames suddenly collapsed, turning into countless tiny sparks that drifted slowly through the air and disappeared, as if it had never existed. As the last spark faded from view, everyone present noticed that the white-bearded man stood firmly in place, his broad and imposing cloak swaying gently in the wind, and his healthy body showed no signs of injury or scarring. This scene left all who witnessed it utterly stunned. This was the power of the phoenix form. It can not only heal all the user's injuries, but its powerful regenerative and vitality-enhancing abilities can even restore Whitebeard to his peak condition. Such a powerful and mysterious force is simply unbelievable. Who? The white-bearded man exhaled a long breath and slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were bright and piercing, as if they could see into the essence of all things in the world, full of vitality and life. I moved my body slightly and found myself feeling incredibly comfortable, without the slightest bit of fatigue. Those places that used to ache year-round have now completely vanished, as if they had never existed. He felt as if he had been reborn, every cell in his body was cheering and filled with boundless power. His heart pounded powerfully, each beat seemingly announcing his rebirth to the world. His muscles were taut and strong, each one seemingly containing boundless energy. Life is truly beautiful. At that moment, he truly felt the beauty and power of life. He knew that he was no longer the exhausted, ailing old man he once was. He had been reborn and possessed the courage and strength to pursue his dreams anew. He turned around, looked at Ron with great satisfaction, and gently extended his right hand, saying, "Ron, you brat, become my son." Chapter 7. Marine Headquarters, Marine Ford. Report. A Marine rushed into Sengoku's office in a panic. "What's the rush?" Zhangguo put down the grass in his hand, patted the goat's head, and told it to go play somewhere else. The Marine swallowed hard, then slammed the important document he was holding onto Sengoku's desk with a loud thud. Reporting to the Fleet Admiral, the Whitebeard Pirates. The Whitebeard Pirates are making a big move. The Whitebeard Pirates. Sengoku frowned slightly. Whitebeard is practically half buried, what big moves could he possibly make? As he spoke, he slowly reached out and picked up the seemingly ordinary yet extremely important document on the table, turning to the first page. As his gaze swept over the dense text line by line, his brows gradually furrowed, as if each sentence were an unsolvable riddle. The further I read, the stronger this sense of confusion became. It didn't diminish but instead grew larger and larger, like a snowball rolling downhill. By the last few pages, he could no longer suppress his doubts and confusion. Finally, after carefully reading the entire document from beginning to end, he looked up, his face filled with disbelief. He then turned his gaze to the Marines standing not far away, his eyes filled with questions. What exactly are they trying to do on Jaya Island? And why are they buying so many resources? Are these pirates planning to open a factory to launder their money? His tone was a mix of surprise and sarcasm, clearly finding the situation utterly unbelievable. The Marine shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. "All right, continue observing. Report to me immediately if the Whitebeard pirates make any unusual moves." "Yes." The Marine hurriedly left the room, the whole process taking no more than a minute. During that time, Garp walked in, eating senbei and chuckling. He seemed completely oblivious to Sengoku's furrowed brows and displeased expression, and plopped down on the sofa with a nonchalant air, beginning to leisurely enjoy this rare afternoon. A faint aroma of tea filled the air, but this tranquility was somewhat disrupted by Garp's arrival. Garp seemed to be in a good mood, a relaxed smile on his face, and he occasionally made satisfied noises. He was completely immersed in his own little world, as if all the troubles of the outside world had nothing to do with him. "Garp!" A roar jolted Garp off the sofa. Sengoku angrily threw a stack of newspapers at Garp, cursing, "Look what your grandson has done. He's going to turn Alabasta upside down." Garp took the newspaper, and instead of being angry, he burst into laughter as he read about Luffy's misdeeds. "Well done, Luffy!" Garp! Sengoku was so angry he wanted to shove the grass meant for the goats into the old man's mouth. "Your grandson is always causing trouble, even in his old age. Whitebeard has to stir up some trouble. You guys are driving me crazy." A Whitebeard? Garp looked at Sengoku with a puzzled expression, grabbed a handful of senbei, rice crackers, and stuffed them into his mouth, asking between bites, "What's wrong with Whitebeard? He's a Yonko with one foot in the grave, what could he possibly be up to?" "Here." Sengoku pushed the document aside. "That Whitebeard guy, for some reason, went to paradise and took over a small island." "What?" Garp was taken aback. "Whitebeard came to the Grand Line." "When did that happen?" He picked up the document and started reading, finding it increasingly amusing. "Ha ha ha, is Whitebeard choosing a burial plot for himself?" Sengoku, however, believed this matter was not simple, analyzing, "Whitebeard isn't the kind of person who acts on a whim, his actions are always carefully considered. There must be a reason why he did this. Garp also agreed with this. Then we should send someone over to check it out. If Whitebeard really has some unspeakable secret, we can know in advance and prepare accordingly. That's the only way. Just as Sengoku was about to give the order, suddenly, rapid footsteps sounded outside the door. Report! Report! It was that same marine from before, but this time he didn't knock, he just barged in. Reporting to Marshal, urgent intelligence has arrived. Speak. Reporting to the Marshal, 3 beams of golden light suddenly shot into the sky from Jaya Island, which was just occupied by Whitebeard. Some treasure must have appeared. Furthermore, intelligence indicates that the golden light appeared at the private estate of one of the Whitebeard Pirates Division commanders. Hearing this, Sengoku also became flustered. He exchanged a glance with Garp, both seeing the shock and confusion in each other's eyes. A soaring golden light. It must be something extraordinary, or perhaps Whitebeard is conducting some kind of experiment. It must be. Garp agreed, otherwise he really couldn't think of anything that would make Whitebeard come to paradise from the New World and occupy a small island. This matter must be investigated immediately. Sengoku realized the importance of the matter and turned to instruct the marine. Go and summon General Aokiji. Yes. Not long after, Aokiji lazily walked into the office. Oh, Marshal Sengoku, it seems like it's my vacation time right now. Due to special circumstances, the leave is temporarily suspended. Then Zhangguo recounted what he had just heard. Upon hearing this, Aokiji frowned. According to what the Marshal said, something must have happened over there. We definitely need to investigate thoroughly. That's why I called you here. Aokiji waved and turned to leave, his voice coming from outside the door. Okay, I'm going now. Remember to return double my vacation time when I'm done. Wow, this is your apprentice, Garp? He can even bargain with the Marshal now. Ha ha ha, warring states period, you have to give someone a little something in return for doing them a favor. Somewhere along the Grand Line. On a canoe, Teach, with a stubble-covered, disheveled face, was rowing with all his might. His bright eyes were full of ambition, fixed intently on the front, his hands never stopping their movements. Ha ha ha, Whitebeard, you can search the whole world for me, but you'd never dream that I've already arrived on the other side of the red line. Teach looked around with satisfaction. Although he had only managed to find a few crew members, the feeling of freedom made him feel completely refreshed. Once I, Blackbeard, have assembled my own pirate crew, I will definitely come looking for you, old man. Because I still want to reclaim the devil fruit that belongs to me, one of the 4 emperors. I hope you won't be shocked then. I really can't wait to see Dad's expression, ha ha ha. He then rowed even more diligently, his primary goal now being to build his own pirate crew to fend off the Whitebeard pirates' pursuit. Chapter 8. Jaya Island. Experimental base within the manor. Ron was somewhat annoyed by Whitebeard's enthusiastic invitation, the latter's habit of accepting disciples from anyone he met remained unchanged. But he doesn't have that habit, it's more normal to call him Captain. Captain, I can join the Whitebeard pirates, but I'm still used to calling you Captain. Grrrrrrr, what an interesting little brat. It's just a nickname, whatever. The white-bearded man laughed heartily, moving his new body around. The feeling of regaining vitality was truly wonderful and rare. The others also gathered around, constantly congratulating Whitebeard. Ace appeared beside Ron at some point, looking apologetic. Brother Ron, I apologize for my previous attitude. Hey? What is it? I've forgotten. Ron chuckled. Thank you, Brother Ron. If you hadn't stopped me in time, I definitely would have caused even bigger trouble. Ace spoke with such conviction, his hatred was written all over his face. As for Teach, just do as you said. Killing him outright would be too lenient, he should live in constant fear. Ron was pleased to see Ace's change, and without Ace as the catalyst, the Marineford War should be a thing of the past, right? Ron didn't know. But even if it happens, it doesn't matter. Whitebeard has already obtained the mythical Zoan Phoenix form, so it's hard for him to die now. His vitality is even more vigorous, comparable to his peak period. After all, Whitebeard at his peak didn't have the advantage of a Zoan-type devil fruit, so the current Whitebeard is equal to or even surpasses his peak. These are the 4 emperors. If this were placed in the Marineford War, it would be enough to give the Sengoku period a hard time. Ron saw Whitebeard pick up the Murakumagari and begin to wield the great sword. With each strike, a cold light flashed, like ice crystals in winter, leaving silvery white streaks in the air. Every swing is filled with power and determination. The expansive movements not only showcase unparalleled strength but also evoke an indescribable aura like an awakened tiger running freely in the jungle, roaring and declaring its territory inviolable. With each attack, the surrounding air seemed to be torn apart by this powerful energy, emitting slight crackling sounds. One couldn't help but imagine that if this power continued to accumulate, it might truly be able to cleave an island in two with a single sword strike. In the world of One Piece, abilities, physical skills, and haki are equally important. True masters are proficient in almost everything. He has nothing, so he can only survive by relying on the strong or being relied upon by the strong. He's currently in terrible physical condition, he can't do hand-to-hand combat or swordsmanship. The only thing he can eat is a devil fruit, but he doesn't want to eat one right now. Firstly, it's unnecessary. With the Whitebeard pirates protecting them, there's no need to create weaknesses for themselves. Secondly, he's waiting for an even stronger devil fruit to appear. The world of One Piece is full of surprises, who knows if an even stronger devil fruit will emerge. Everything is unknown. Moreover, he wouldn't be so arrogant as to think that he could be invincible with just one fruit. The road ahead is a gradual one, and so is the rise to prominence, which must be achieved step by step. Just as he was pondering, a pleasant electronic voice from the system rang in his mind. Congratulations, host, on completing your first enchantment. Reward received, automatic training. Current quest progress, enchanted 10 times, 1/10. Unlock new technology upon completion of the mission. Automatic cultivation? What an unexpected bonus! Ron looked at the reward given by the system with delight and couldn't help but click on it. After reading the description, I understood. It's very simple. As long as he lives, even without cultivation, his strength will gradually increase, and the increase will be exactly the same as that of those who diligently cultivate. P.S. In the world of One Piece, the training of martial arts or physical skills is collectively referred to as cultivation. It suits me perfectly. Ron was overjoyed. This method of becoming stronger without training was practically tailor-made for him. Without this, he doesn't know when he'll ever become stronger. Dad, stop playing now. Marco suppressed his excitement and quickly stepped forward. Dad, you've just recovered, you need to have a full checkup. Whitebeard knew Marco's temperament, there was no escaping the examination today, so he had no choice but to stop and let Marco examine him. Hurry up, I'm bursting with energy. I have to say, the Phoenix Form's devil fruit power is amazing. Okay, Dad. Reach out your hand. Marco smiled, took out his stethoscope, and quickly and carefully examined Whitebeard. Is Dad all right? Marco, check him carefully, Jaws urged impatiently. Just wait patiently. Marco's the ship's doctor, do you really need to remind him of something this small? You're right, I was too hasty. Jaws scratched his head sheepishly, then lowered his head, feeling too ashamed to look at Ron. A moment later, Marco put away his stethoscope and announced with a smile, Dad's recovery is going very well. All his old ailments and hidden injuries are healed. Dad is currently perfectly healthy. When the results were announced, Everyone erupted in cheers. That's wonderful. Dad is finally free of his illness. Ha ha ha, Dad's a lucky guy, he's really alright. Brother, you're mistaken. It should be that Dad was blessed with good fortune, it was Ron who healed him. Yes, yes, look at my mouth, Brother Ron, I apologize. As he spoke, the man earnestly apologized to Ron, his comical manner eliciting laughter from everyone. Everyone looked at Ron, their eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. Cheers echoed as they tossed Ron over their heads again and again. Ron! 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 Whitebeard was overjoyed, a joy he hadn't felt in a long time. Watching this scene, his eyes gradually welled up with tears. All of this is thanks to that brat Ron. After the happiness, another problem facing everyone is. So there are still 2 enchanted devil fruits left. Who should eat them? Yozue shook his head first, making his stance clear, I'll pass. I'm a rough, tough guy, and a paramecia-type devil fruit user with thick skin and a rock-hard exterior. I'm as hard as a diamond, I rarely get hurt, and if I do, I don't need treatment. Ha ha ha. Ron was also amused by Jaws, never expecting the other to have such a humorous side. Vista also declined, saying, Father, you know me. My swordsmanship is all about charging forward fearlessly. If I eat this fruit out of fear of getting hurt, it won't help my swordsmanship at all, it might even make me regress. Whitebeard. Whitebeard then looked at Ace, Ace, you should eat these too. Don't refuse. Ace was taken aback, me? Yes, you should eat it. Whitebeard looked at Ace seriously. The mythical Zoan Phoenix's abilities are incredibly powerful, as long as it's not instantly reduced to ashes, it can regenerate. This is Whitebeard's most genuine feeling. So, he wanted Ace to eat the fruit so his life would be saved. Chapter 9. Seeing his father's firm stance, Ace didn't refuse any further. He then picked up the devil fruit from the testing table in front of everyone and took a bite. It still tastes disgusting, just like always. Don't spit it out. This is a devil fruit worth 1 billion berries, someone couldn't help but remind him. It's safe to say that most people who are envious are probably just jealous, after all, it's a mythical beast. They are even rarer than Logia-type beings, and their abilities are incredibly powerful. Didn't you see they even healed my father's long-standing injuries? It can be said that with this ability, they'd have a hard time dying. The other squad leaders watched with envy, but most remained silent, because they all understood their own positions. Compared to Ace, he's far inferior. These people should have eaten the devil fruits first, but that doesn't mean they won't have a chance later. Because Ron was always there. As long as Ron is around, they'll always get to eat. It's just a matter of time. Therefore, although everyone felt admiration, there was no jealousy or hatred. They all looked at Ace with hopeful eyes. How is it, Ace? Marco asked hurriedly, noticing that Ace hadn't reacted after eating the devil fruit. Did he fail? Well. Ace revealed the outcome. Ace looked at everyone with some disappointment. I'm sorry, everyone, we failed. Vista stepped forward to comfort her, don't be sorry. The Ron brothers said that an enchanted devil fruit isn't a real devil fruit, there's a probability of success or failure. It's not your fault. Ron also stepped forward, patted Ace on the shoulder, and wondered what the success rate of enchanting was. Ace, failure is normal. Not everyone has Dad's luck. Try again. Yeah, it's just a waste of money, a drop of blood, Marco said nonchalantly. Now that Dad's back to his peak, we'll take back everything we've lost. Ace nodded and picked up the last enchanted devil fruit. I'll give it another try. As he spoke, he carefully put the devil fruit into his mouth. The familiar nauseating taste filled his mouth again, and the intense irritation almost made Ace vomit. Eating a devil fruit was torture every time, but this time he didn't just try a small bite as usual. Instead, he gritted his teeth and swallowed the entire devil fruit. This scene completely stunned everyone around, who couldn't help but give a thumbs up and exclaim, "Ace, that's ruthless." Fine beads of sweat appeared on Ace's forehead, and his face was as pale as paper, but his eyes were unusually firm. He knew that this was the only way to obtain the power of the devil fruit. Furthermore, enchantment devil fruits are different from regular devil fruits, perhaps eating them all would increase the success rate. Although this power comes with immense pain and risk, it's all worth it for Ace, who yearns to become even stronger. Those around Ace, seeing his resolute expression, couldn't help but feel a surge of admiration. They knew that not everyone had the courage to face such a disgusting smell. When Ace swallowed the devil fruit whole, everyone present held their breath, their eyes fixed on him, filled with a mixture of tension and anticipation. They knew that this moment was crucial for Ace. If he could successfully master the power of the devil fruit, he would gain unprecedented abilities. But if we fail, it would be such a shame. That's 2 billion berries. Therefore, everyone's hearts were in their throats, silently praying for a miracle to happen. At the same time, Ace could also feel a tremendous change taking place within his body. A strange and powerful force seemed to be awakening. It first flowed gently through his limbs and bones, and then surged and roared like a volcanic eruption. As time ticked by, Ace's expression gradually shifted from initial tension to surprise because he discovered that not only had he not been harmed, but he had also gained entirely new abilities. Success! Suddenly, a raging crimson flame erupted around his body. Although the flames looked spectacular, they did not emit a scorching temperature. Instead, they gave off a sense of inexplicable vitality and life. The blood-red flames burned fiercely, as if they were going to dye the entire sky crimson. The flames contained boundless power and mystery, and each leap seemed to tell an ancient legend. As time passed, the flames gradually condensed and transformed, eventually forming a lifelike, blood-red, immortal phoenix above Ace's head. This immortal phoenix was covered in blazing, dazzling fire feathers, each feather shimmering with a lifelike radiance. Its eyes, like 2 dazzling rubies, shone with a deep and majestic gaze. When it gently flaps its wings, the air seems to be filled with invisible energy fluctuations, which evokes both awe and reverence. Suddenly, a clear, melodious yet majestic cry resounded through the sky. This sound penetrated the depths of everyone's hearts, causing everyone present to tremble, their eyes filled with awe and envy. They witnessed the birth of a miracle, once again the second user with 2 devil fruit abilities. Even more surprisingly, under the influence of this mysterious force, the weeds that had withered and died, losing all vitality, began to revive. They slowly took root and sprouted, growing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Ha ha ha, Dad, Brother Ron, I did it!" Ace laughed excitedly, feeling the power of the phoenix fruit and trying to control it. "Gururururura, another pair of devil fruit users has been born in my Whitebeard pirates." The white-bearded man was overjoyed. Today was truly a lucky day, a day that should be remembered in history. He was very grateful to Ron. If it weren't for Ron, perhaps on the day Thatch died, the Whitebeard pirates were gradually heading towards extinction. It was Ron's arrival that changed everything. "All right, Ace, put away your powers." Whitebeard chuckled and scolded, then solemnly looked at everyone. "My sons, listen up, I have something to announce." Upon hearing that Whitebeard was about to make an announcement, the previously lively crowd fell silent and listened attentively. They all knew their father well and knew that his expression meant something important was about to be announced, so no one dared to joke around. They all listened attentively. From this moment forward, Ron will be the first mate of the Whitebeard pirates. Anyone who has a problem with this can speak up. Boom! A single sentence exploded like a muffled thunderclap in everyone's ears. "Ron? First mate? Is this for real? If so, then tie pants are hot." Chapter 10. You have a problem with that? Only a fool would have a problem with that. It's great that Ron became their first mate. There's every reason for him to obtain an enchanted devil fruit in the future and become a dual devil fruit user. Great, first mate Ron! First mate Ron, when can we have enchantments too? I want to be a devil fruit user too. Yes, yes. Ron was completely taken aback that Whitebeard had made him his first mate. His original plan was to stay with the Whitebeard pirates, continue his experiments, and complete the system tasks. I never expected to become the first mate. Feeling the warmth of everyone's enthusiasm, Ron's heart also warmed. He couldn't directly answer their questions, as they involved too many complexities. He turned to look at Whitebeard, the meaning in his eyes clear. The white-bearded man smiled and continued the conversation. Grrrr, you brats, all you know is becoming dual devil fruit users. As soon as Whitebeard spoke, the excited scene immediately fell silent. I know every one of you wants to become a dual devil fruit user, that's normal. But with so many people, there has to be an order. The captain goes first, followed by the best crew members, and then the others. Also, don't be in such a hurry. Everyone has the potential to become a dual devil fruit user, or even a triple devil fruit user. But be careful to let first mate Ron rest. If you exhaust him, I won't let you off the hook. Whitebeard has temporarily set rules for these men. If they are not restrained, his sons will surely run wild. Then he turned to look at Ron, his tone softening. Ron, is there anything else you'd like to add? Go ahead and say it. Ron thought for a moment and nodded. Indeed, some. I deeply understand everyone's desire to become stronger, but there's one thing I need to clarify beforehand. Everyone pricked up their ears and listened intently, more seriously than ever before, because this concerned their future growth into stronger individuals. Ron paused and continued. First, enchanted devil fruits don't come for free, each one costs 1 billion berries. Secondly, the success rate of enchanting is not 100%, so you should be prepared for failure. Third, it's best to prepare 3 enchanting devil fruits each time you enchant, because I've found that consuming 3 consecutively greatly increases the success rate. After stating these 3 points, Ron nodded to Whitebeard, indicating that he had nothing else to add. Did you all understand? If there are no objections, then do as Ron says. Whitebeard once again strongly supported Ron. Everyone nodded in agreement. Although enchanting a devil fruit required a lot of money, it wasn't an unattainable goal for them, pirates who spent their lives living on the edge. There are so many other pirate crews on the high seas, robbing a few of them would be enough. If that's not enough, then keep robbing. The thought of becoming users of 2 or even 3 devil fruits filled them with immense excitement. They're clamoring to throw a banquet. Whitebeard was also very happy. Seeing everyone's high spirits, he simply agreed. My sons, let's have a grand feast today to celebrate Vice Captain Ron and the Whitebeard pirates. This era belongs to the Whitebeard pirates. It was Ron's era. Woohoo! Ron! 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 Soon, a bonfire was lit on the island, and wisps of smoke rose gently, drifting away on the wind. The warm firelight illuminated the surroundings and reflected the smiles on everyone's faces. The celebratory banquet has officially begun. Ron was the star of the party. He stood in the middle of the crowd, receiving adoration and praise from his companions. Everyone seemed exceptionally happy. They not only expressed their support and affection for Ron with words, but also tried various ways to please the most dazzling person of the night. As time went by, the atmosphere at the scene became even more enthusiastic. The music gradually began, melodious and pleasant, making people want to sway along involuntarily. Amidst the singing and dancing, laughter rose and fell, and the entire island seemed to be enveloped in this joy. To Ron's surprise, several beautiful women dressed in gorgeous costumes and with exquisite makeup slowly walked into the center of the venue. They either twirled and leaped lightly or danced gracefully, adding a lot of color to this grand event. No wonder the ancients loved listening to music in brothels, who wouldn't be bewildered by this stuff. Ron was enjoying his wine when one or two beautiful women who knew the music came over, vying to pour him a drink. The next day, Ron woke up in his warm bed, feeling an inexhaustible surge of energy. Is this the benefit of automatic cultivation? You can achieve the same results as someone who spends a whole day practicing without doing anything. By slightly clenching your fist, you can clearly feel the contraction and release of your muscles. Throw a powerful punch. You can clearly feel that both the power and speed of the punches are far superior to before. He is getting stronger at an extremely rapid pace. That's a bit abnormal. Ron felt that the speed at which he was getting stronger was a little too fast. But upon further reflection, I understood. All of this is based on the fact that he has the physical constitution of an earthling. After all, his current strength is based on the people of the One Piece world. The difference between the two is already quite large. So it's normal to see rapid improvement in the early stages. It feels so good to be strong and healthy. Ron looked at his hands excitedly. Ah, Lord Ron, you're up so early. Lord Ron, would you like us to help you wash up? Only then did he come to his senses, and saw the two women who had been drinking and making love with him the night before smiling. I'm off today, I woke up too late, I'm going back to sleep. On the other side. In contrast to Ron's carefree life, Whitebeard's side was gearing up for action, with a large group of captains gathered to discuss their next move. Grrrrrrrr, you little devils, want my power? Then hurry up and make some money. The white-bearded man drank heartily from large bowls of wine, gulping down several large barrels in one go. So refreshing. Since falling ill, he hadn't drunk so freely. If it weren't for Ron, he would have almost forgotten when the last time he drank so heartily was. Dad's abilities. The group of people looked at each other, all seeing shock in each other's eyes. What's the meaning? Dad's going to enchant us with his abilities too. Hiss. Gasps of breath echoed through the hall. The white-bearded man nearly suffocated, then looked at them and laughed. You bunch of brats, if it weren't for Ron, I wouldn't have known that Teach's ultimate goal was to get my abilities. Humph. He's been scheming for so many years. If he sees the power he wants, and every member of the Whitebeard pirates gets one, what will his expression be? Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Chapter 11. What a pity! We shouldn't have let those pirates go when we first came to this island. That's right, those pirates make hundreds of millions of berries from even a small robbery. It hurts. It hurts so much. They haven't gone far, have they? Shall we go after them now? It's better to go after the other 4 emperors, you'll definitely make money faster that way. Marco immediately denied it. Now is not a suitable time to confront the other 4 emperors. First, although Dad has recovered from his serious injuries, he has not yet fully recovered to his best condition and currently lacks enough strength to fight against those equally powerful or even stronger enemies. Secondly, if too much of Ron's or Old Man's abilities become known to the outside world, it will pose a huge risk to the entire pirate crew. If this information is leaked, it will not only attract the Navy's attention, but may also provoke the covetousness and attacks of other forces. Therefore, before having absolute certainty, it is wise to remain low-key and accumulate strength. The squad leaders realized their mistake and temporarily abandoned their plan to attack the other 4 emperors. At the same time, I am heartbroken and very puzzled as to why I was so kind as to let those little cuties go. Those were hundreds of millions of berries, each one an enchanted devil fruit. The fact that their father wants to pass on his abilities to them is especially painful for them. The Tremor-Tremor Fruit has the strongest attack power. Rumors. At the peak of his youth, Dad had the power to shatter the entire ocean. This is the scariest part. Now, they could also gain this ability. How could that not excite them? Make money. We have to make money. Let's go. A massive money-making operation began with the Whitebeard pirates. Everyone was full of energy, and they all had only one goal, to make money. 5 days later. A small-scale, unprecedented commotion has occurred somewhere along the Grand Line and in the New World. During this period, the Whitebeard pirates launched a series of major operations. They not only swiftly and precisely eliminated several large pirate crews, but also successfully seized billions of berries. Whitebeard, the pirate hailed as the strongest man in the world, had every move that captivated the entire pirate world. The sudden launch of an unprecedented large-scale operation was like a bombshell, exploding across the entire sea area and causing shock and speculation among countless people. However, no one knows the true reason behind this grand operation. Was it Whitebeard's struggle before death? Was he trying to intimidate the surrounding forces before his demise? Or was there a more complex and far-reaching intention behind it? Immediately, all sorts of speculations and rumors arose. Some said the Whitebeard pirates were searching for a legendary treasure, others said they wanted to challenge the authority of the Marine headquarters, and still others speculated that this was Whitebeard's last gamble to protect his family and friends. Regardless of the truth, this major event triggered by Whitebeard has undoubtedly shaken the entire world. People are paying close attention to the movements of the Whitebeard pirates, trying to find some clues to unravel this mystery. However, just as everyone's attention was focused on the Whitebeard pirates, they vanished into the sea as if they had never existed. This made the already perplexing situation even more mysterious. Wano Country, Onigashima. Kaido sat imposingly on his magnificent and solemn throne, his posture as upright as an unshakable mountain. He clutched an old-fashioned gourd tightly in his hand, gulping it down as if it were free. With each drop of wine, his eyes gleamed with an arrogant and untamed light, each sip seemingly fueling his inner ambition and passion. Meanwhile, a subordinate stood respectfully to the side, carefully reporting the latest intelligence. "What's that old man with the white beard up to? He's practically half buried, what's he doing making such a fuss?" Kaido's tone was full of disdain and contempt, as if he were mocking Whitebeard's powerless struggle. "Does getting old mean you want to drag a few people down with you? Humph!" He sneered, his voice revealing deep disdain for Whitebeard and absolute confidence in his own strength. "Ignore it, keep drinking." World of Warcraft, Whole Cake Island. Big Mom sat comfortably atop the cake, her eyes filled with longing as she gazed at the large cake before her. It was her favorite dessert, a love she adored to the extreme, even to the point of obsession. "Mom, the Whitebeard pirates are up to something again." The speaker was Sparrow, the eldest son of Bigum, who carried some weight among his siblings. "Hey? That old man with the white beard." Big Mom grabbed the large cake in front of her and stuffed it into her mouth without hesitation. Her enormous mouth opened wide, like a bottomless pit, and the cake quickly disappeared into her mouth. After chewing a few times, she couldn't wait to swallow it, and only then did a satisfied expression appear on her face. "Tell me about their recent situation," Big Mom said in an unquestionable tone, a hint of impatience in his voice. His eyes were sharp as knives, seemingly able to see through all secrets. His fingers tapped lightly on the table, making a rhythmic sound, as if urging the other person to answer quickly. Those around immediately felt an invisible pressure, and a tense atmosphere filled the air. They exchanged glances, then lowered their heads, unable to look Big Mom in the eye. Sparrow also spoke cautiously, beginning to report on the recent situation, his voice slow and deliberate, as if afraid of uttering a single wrong word. "The Whitebeard pirates attacked the territory they had previously lost and robbed all the pirates of their treasure. They seem to be desperately short of money. Furthermore, whether in the New World or the Grand Line, all pirate crews that previously attacked their territory were wiped out, and all their wealth was looted. They didn't even spare the pirates' clothes, they dug deep, leaving nothing of value behind." As he spoke, Sparrow was also shocked. When did the Whitebeard pirates become so greedy? Big Mom laughed loudly, shaking the entire palace. What an interesting old man. Ignore him. Keep a close watch on Fishman Island. As soon as Whitebeard dies, seize the island. Yes, Mom. Sparrow agreed and kept it firmly in mind. Fishman Island was something his mother had taken a liking to, and it absolutely could not be lost. Although I don't know what's gotten into the Whitebeard pirates, if they dare to come, I'll definitely show them how powerful the Big Mom pirates are. Chapter 12. Jaya Island. Ron was somewhat annoyed when Ace excitedly called him over, as he was playing cards and being interrupted was a real downer. When he entered the hall, the scene before him surprised him slightly. Most of the squad captains had already gathered there, their mouths agape, their faces beaming with undisguised joy. This atmosphere filled the entire space with excitement, clearly indicating that something significant and joyous was about to happen or had already happened. What good news has happened? Everyone looks so happy. Marco kept everyone in suspense, then clapped his hands mysteriously. As he moved, an air of anticipation seemed to fill the space. Immediately afterwards, several strong porters walked in from outside, each carrying a huge box on their shoulders. These boxes look heavy, and are obviously filled with a lot of things. Following instructions, the workers carefully placed the large boxes on the ground, arranging them in neat rows one after another. When they finally counted them, there were more than 100 of them. Ron was somewhat shocked, and immediately guessed what was going on. Marco, these can't all of them be? Ha ha ha, you guessed it right, our beloved first mate Ron. Once all the boxes were in place, Marco waved again, indicating that they could begin. At a command, all the boxes were opened almost simultaneously, the lids slowly lifted to reveal their dazzling contents. Instantly, the entire space was filled with dazzling jewels. Gold, diamonds, gemstones, and all kinds of precious jade came into view, sparkling brilliantly under the lights, leaving one breathless. Ron was deeply shaken. He stood there, dumbfounded, staring at the scene before him. This was the first time in his life he had seen such an astonishing mountain of treasures, each piece exuding an irresistible charm. Gold utensils, weapons inlaid with precious gems, and all sorts of works of art. If these things were on Earth in my previous life, their value would be immeasurable. My God! Ron couldn't help but exclaim softly, all of this stuff combined is probably worth at least tens of billions of berries. His voice was filled with shock and disbelief. Anyone would be overwhelmed by such a vast fortune, let alone someone like Ron who was experiencing it for the first time. Ha ha ha, First Vice Captain Ron is right, these things are worth about 30 billion berries. Vista was also very excited, his eyes full of anticipation. We plan to enchant all the squad leaders with Father's abilities all at once. All squad captains. Right. Ron frowned slightly, even if this treasure is worth 30 billion berries, and each enchanted devil fruit costs 1 billion berries, we can only create 30. Everyone else listened attentively, not wanting to miss a single word. Enchanting has a chance of failure, even if 1 out of 3 enchantments succeeds, only 10 people can be enchanted. Ron sighed, realizing that 30 billion berries was nothing compared to the money-burning system. First mate, don't be so pessimistic. Not everyone is so unlucky. What if we only need 20 enchanted devil fruits to succeed? Vista encouraged, somewhat eager to try. Jaws also stood up, his gaze resolute. Dad succeeded only once, I believe our luck isn't that bad. Yes, first mate, thank you for your hard work. Please proceed with the preparation. I believe in our luck. Thank you for your hard work, first mate. Everyone looked at Ron with hopeful eyes, and Ron was also happy to see them successfully enchant their weapon. After all, his mission will be complete once 8 more people successfully enchant his items. At that time, it will unlock the next new technology. Great! It'll take at least half a month, maybe a month, but I'll work overtime to finish it. Just wait for my good news. Looking at the excited crowd, Ron made a pledge. Also, for those of you who wish to enchant other abilities, you can collect their blood during this time. 1 fruit, 1 drop is enough. After saying that, he turned and left without any hesitation. He couldn't wait to know what the next technology the system would provide. Jaya Island has been very peaceful these days. Hearing that the 4 Emperor's pirate crews were stationed here, no one dared to come here anymore. Therefore, this place has always been very quiet. The squad leaders, having nothing else to do, often gathered together to chat, dreaming of becoming users of 3, 4, or even 5 devil fruits in the future. That would be so cool. Just then, a pirate suddenly rushed in from outside, looking flustered. Oh no! Admiral Aokiji is here. Marco was the first to stand up, frowning. What? Aokiji's here? How many are there? Not many people, just one person. This time it was Marco's turn to be surprised. Only one person came? Alone? Father, Aokiji came alone. It seems he wasn't sent by the Navy, perhaps he was just passing through. The white-bearded man put down his large wine bowl, his eyes cold. What is Aokiji doing here? Doesn't he know this is already the private territory of the Whitebeard pirates? Ace frowned as well, but then his eyes lit up. Father, King Z has arrived just in time. What do you mean? You mean you want to? Whitebeard instantly understood Ace's meaning, and at the same time, the others reacted, their eyes suddenly lighting up with a green light. Ace said eagerly, Dad, let me go and meet the Admiral. It's been so long since I've fought one. No, Jaws, want to go too. Yozu immediately stood up, indicating he wanted to go too, since everyone knew that to enchant Ron, they needed the blood of a power user. Aokiji is a Logia type. Who wouldn't want an Admiral's Logia type devil fruit? Ha ha ha, my foil has been itching for a long time. Vista, the foil fencer, rested his hands on the twin swords at his waist, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. This battle was one he absolutely had to go for. Grrrrrrrr, you little devils! The white-bearded man continued to hold up his large wine bowl. With these sons, there was no need for him to lift a finger. He simply continued drinking. Do as you please, just don't disturb my drinking. Upon hearing Whitebeard's words, the squad leaders could no longer contain themselves. As if they had rockets strapped to their feet, they leaped across the gate at incredible speed, their target, Aokiji. Seeing his adorable friends, Marco smiled and shook his head. Dad, I'll stay here and have a drink with you. Aren't you going? Whitebeard downed the wine in his large bowl in one gulp and looked at Marco. Aokiji's abilities are powerful, but I don't want them. Chapter 13. Aokiji's abilities are powerful, but I don't want them. Marco answered, then poured his father a full glass of wine and continued, if I had to choose a Logia type, I'd prefer Akainu's magma fruit. Oh, why? Whitebeard asked, intrigued. There are many types of Logia type attacks. The magma fruit is a physical attack, allowing for maximum effectiveness. Slightly stronger than Aokiji's ice fruit. Then why not choose Kizaru's glint fruit? Whitebeard asked Marco. The glint fruit is incredibly fast, an attack can arrive in the blink of an eye. Dad, Kizaru's abilities are useless against us. Marco raised his hand, and a blue flame appeared and burned fiercely. Dad, the Phoenix's rebirth flame can't affect us with Kizaru's abilities, so it's useless to us. Gulalalala, you're making fun of your old man. Time for a penalty drink. Alright, I'll take the punishment. I'll drink it now. Port side. King Z stared in bewilderment at the sea of people before him, their eyes gleaming with greed. Judging from their expressions, it was as if a group of perverts had spotted an absolute beauty. He just came to ask something, why make such a big fuss and send the entire pirate crew to welcome him? Ah, this is quite lively. Aokiji stretched lazily. Since we're here, let's make the best of it. Whitebeard Pirates commanders, what happened here yesterday? What were those 3 golden lights? Ace frowned. So that's what they came for. He had thought the other person was just passing by. Aokiji, as a general, are you perhaps not thinking straight? Do you think we'd answer you? Haha, this general doesn't seem very bright either. Who says that being smart automatically makes you a great general? Brother, that's a dangerous idea. A barrage of nonsensical sarcastic remarks flew around, making King Z pick at her ear in boredom. A bunch of ocean trash, making a lot of noise. This will give you a moment to calm down. As he spoke, without hesitation, King Z launched his attack. His body began to gradually transform, slowly turning from flesh and blood into hard, cold ice. This transformation was not only rapid but also extremely spectacular, as if the entire space was being controlled by an irresistible force. As Aokiji's movements became faster and faster, his speed reached an unprecedented level. Wherever he passed, whether it was vibrant flowers, trees, or freely flying birds, beasts, insects, and fish, upon contact with this extreme cold power, they instantly lost all signs of life, were perfectly frozen in place, and became lifelike ice sculptures. These sculptures, composed of natural elements, reflect a dazzling light under the sun, but behind them lies a chilling atmosphere of beauty and cruelty. Get out of the way! Ace and the others quickly retreated, dodging Aokiji's icy attack, but many ordinary pirates were still struck by the icy energy and turned into ice sculptures. Ice ball! King Z slowly raised her palm, and the moisture in the air seemed to be summoned by some mysterious force, quickly condensing into 5 sharp and transparent ice pillars. Under his control, these icicles shot out like arrows, heading straight for the enemies who hadn't yet had time to react. With a few whooshing sounds, several people were instantly and accurately struck, their bodies immediately covered with a thin layer of frost, which gradually spread outwards. Immediately afterwards, an even more powerful burst of freezing energy erupted from Aokiji's palm, enveloping the unfortunate individuals in a huge, crystal-clear ice sphere. This ice hockey puck is not only spectacular in appearance, but its internal temperature is also extremely low, making it impossible for people trapped inside to move at all. They can only watch helplessly as they slowly lose sensation from their feet until their entire bodies are completely stiff. Throughout the entire process, apart from the occasional faint sounds of struggle, the surroundings were completely silent. Only King Z's calm and determined gaze revealed his absolute confidence in the outcome of this battle. Mirror flame! Ace roared, his voice filled with rage. A large amount of flame erupted from his right arm like a volcanic eruption, carrying an intensely hot aura and dazzling light, drawing magnificent trajectories in the air. These flames quickly coalesced, forming a massive and sturdy wall of fire in front of their companions. This not only blocked Aokiji's chilling attacks but also emitted warmth, bringing comfort and courage to their teammates behind them. That damned guy, he actually attacked us from behind. Ace released warm flames with his other hand, melting the frozen crew members. He felt a pang of regret, he had been so careless. If only he had acted sooner. On the other side, faced with this sudden change, King Z's eyes remained calm and composed as always, as if she had already anticipated that the other party would take such action. But his expression didn't change. 2nd Division Captain, Fire Fist Ace, this is getting interesting. With a slight focus, King Z brought his understanding of ice elements to its fullest potential. With a gentle wave of his hand, one after another, crystal-clear ice spheres, radiating a chilling aura, flew from all directions, their target the barrier made of pure fire. Humph! The same old tricks, is this how an admiral attacks? Ace scoffed, then thrust his right hand forward with a sudden burst of fire, sending a wall of flames hurtling towards Aokiji, seemingly intent on engulfing him in flames. Oh! King Z looked on quietly. When the ice puck touched the blazing wall of fire, it encountered unprecedented resistance. First, the surface began to melt from the intense heat, and then the entire structure gradually became fragile. After holding out for a few seconds, it finally disintegrated into puddles of clear, transparent, yet harmless icy water, which dripped weakly onto the ground with a soft sound. At this moment, everyone could feel the shocking effect of the intense collision between two completely different forces. Frozen time capsule, Aokiji gathered cold air in his right arm and released an ice bird. This ice bird is not only incredibly lifelike, but it also possesses a powerful, impactful presence. Wherever it goes, the air freezes instantly, and the ground quickly forms a thick layer of frost. Enveloped in the chill, everything around seemed frozen in time, even the tiny particles in the air became clearly visible. While everyone was stunned by this sudden change, no one noticed that King Z's body had quietly disappeared. At this moment, Ace's entire body erupted with towering flames, attempting to use the intense heat to resist the ever-approaching chill. However, although these flames were incredibly intense, they seemed so insignificant in the face of the boundless cold. Suddenly, a large amount of cold air began to condense and form behind Ace, creating a huge ice sculpture. The all-pervasive cold air had frozen Ace's legs, rendering him unable to move. To fight against others, one must be prepared to die. Chapter 14. Immediately afterwards, a familiar figure slowly emerged from the ice sculpture. It was none other than Aokiji, who had disappeared earlier. Suddenly, a crystal-clear, gleaming ice blade appeared in his hand. "Repent in the cold," King Z said coldly, her tone filled with determination and ruthlessness. Before the words were finished, he suddenly swung his ice blade and plunged it deep into Ace's unsuspecting body. The attack came so suddenly and swiftly that Ace had no time to react. As the ice blade penetrated deeper, Aokiji's eyes gradually turned cold, and his expression showed some disappointment. The 2nd Division captain was too weak, he couldn't even block such an attack. With his back to Ace, who had been killed by the ice blade, Aokiji's eyes flashed sharply as he looked at the others in front of him, his breath coming out in icy breath. "Now, does anyone want to tell me about those 3 golden lights?" The scene was deathly silent, no one spoke. Everyone looked at King Z strangely, as if she were an idiot. What's wrong with these generals these days? Are they all so confident? Hey, Aokiji, aren't you getting ahead of yourself? Ha ha ha, so the general isn't so scary after all. He can't even hurt our 2nd captain with a single hair. Hearing these sarcastic remarks, Aokiji had a bad feeling. Had he failed to kill Ace with that last strike? Just as he was about to turn around to confirm, he heard Ace's sigh behind him. "Ah, that's terrifying, Aokiji. This ice blade is truly bone-chillingly cold." At this time, Aokiji also saw Ace's condition. The spot where Ace had been pierced by the ice blade was now burning with blood-red flames. The body pierced by the ice blade is healing rapidly. However, this flame isn't from the flame fruit, it's more like your body. This flame isn't your flame fruit. King Z frowned, her mind blank for a moment. What was going on? It possesses healing flames, somewhat resembling Marco's Phoenix form's healing abilities. Strangeness. A moment later, Ace touched the spot where the ice blade had pierced him. It was now completely healed. Her skin was smooth and flawless, just like a newborn's. Ha ha ha, the Phoenix form is truly amazing. It can even heal such severe injuries. Ace exclaimed in delight. The others also gathered around, excitedly watching Ace, touching him all over with great surprise. "Ace, he's really recovered. Haha, First Mate Ron is amazing. Not a single scar left, truly Little Ma's Phoenix form." Aokiji's furrowed brows remained unchanged. As she listened to their conversation, her heart sank deeper and deeper. The situation is very bad. What's the deal with Ace's phoenix form? Aokiji, you're celebrating too soon. Ace stepped out from the crowd's adoration, rubbing his hands together as he looked at Aokiji with growing fervor. Knowing he was unlikely to die, his fighting spirit only intensified. What's wrong with your body? How do you have the healing abilities of a phoenix? King Z still asked, full of doubt. Ace, what, as a marine admiral, what haven't you seen? You don't know about dual devil fruit users. What? 2 devil fruits? Aokiji was a little confused. A dual devil fruit user? That's an extremely rare existence even in the history of the Navy. That's right. Let me test the abilities of this legendary general. As soon as he finished speaking, a resolute and fighting spirit flashed in Ace's eyes. Clenching his fists, he unleashed the full power of the flame fruit within him. Like boiling magma, it surged and raged, then transformed into a blazing flame, taking shape in his hand. This flame was not just an ordinary flame, but a great flame ring containing immense power and will. The great Yan Emperor's blood-soaked phoenix. With a low roar from Ace, these enormous, spiraling flames were released, swirling and intertwining in the air before finally coalescing into a massive fireball even more dazzling than the sun. This enormous sphere, composed of countless tiny but incredibly hot flames, emits a light so intense it's almost blinding, as if it could illuminate the entire sky. Just when everyone thought that was the end of Ace's attack, an even more shocking scene unfolded above the dazzling fireball. An immortal phoenix enveloped in crimson light suddenly appeared. This legendary mythical beast spread its broad, boundless wings, each flap bringing forth bursts of crimson flames that seemed poised to burn away the clouds in the entire sky, turning the world a deep red. The immortal phoenix's eyes were filled with defiance and rebirth. It stood atop the raging fireball, as if stepping into an endless sea of fire, reborn from the ashes. Aokiji. This is my strongest move. Show me your true power. Fiery Phoenix and Crane. The Crimson Phoenix swooped down with incredible speed, as if it had traversed space itself, and its claws gripped a massive fireball tightly. This fireball was brighter than the sun, its light blinding, and its temperature high enough to melt steel. Flames leaped between the phoenix's claws, producing a deafening roar that seemed to tear even the air apart. With a sharp cry, the Crimson Phoenix hurled a fireball at King Z. The fireball streaked across the sky, leaving a dazzling trail, and wherever it passed, water molecules in the air evaporated wildly, forming a white mist. The ground was scorched red, the rocks began to melt, and everything seemed so unreal, like a dream. King Z stood rooted to the spot, his eyes narrowing sharply. He could feel the immense threat posed by the fireball. He knew that if he were hit by it, even he would find it difficult to withstand the impact. Even a division commander of the Whitebeard pirates has this kind of strength. An unprecedented sense of crisis surged within him. He pursed his lips, and a chill instantly swept over his entire body, causing the surrounding water molecules to freeze rapidly. Ice Age. Aokiji let out a low roar, and the icy aura hidden within his body erupted instantly, sweeping around like a whirlwind in the dead of winter. The cold air was so strong it seemed to freeze time, causing the surrounding air to solidify. Centered on Aokiji, an invisible force rapidly spread outwards, covering everything in its path with a thick layer of frost. Trees, rocks, and even tiny particles in the air were all affected by this sudden cold snap, instantly losing their original color and warmth. With a thought from King Z, the extremely cooled air began to condense and take shape, forming a magnificent, long pillar of ice. Rising from the ground, pointing straight to the sky, its surface is as smooth as a mirror, yet its interior contains the power to destroy everything. When the pillar of ice met the oncoming giant fireball, a violent reaction occurred between them. The collision of ice and fire, two of the most fundamental and opposing forces in nature, produced an unprecedented release of energy. Chapter 15. Bang! With a loud bang, the entire space seemed to tremble at that moment. When two substances with drastically different properties come into contact, they immediately begin a process of mutual cancellation. On the one hand, the high temperature caused some of the ice to melt rapidly into water. On the other hand, the intense cold caused the flames to gradually weaken and eventually go out. During this process, large amounts of white steam rose up, enveloping the battlefield in a hazy mist. The two sides appear to be evenly matched, but in reality, they are consuming each other's energy every single second. Ace is too strong. He actually pushed Admiral Aokiji to this extent. Haha, a dual devil fruit user is indeed very strong. I'm really looking forward to Dad's Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Actually, Aokiji's abilities are pretty good too. If we could get the Ice Fruit and the Flame Fruit, could we also develop the Steam Fruit's abilities? Why go through all that trouble? Lord Ron could just enchant it for you directly. Haha, sorry, I'm such an idiot. Yozu and the other squad leaders were laughing and joking, but their feet didn't stop moving, they moved closer and closer to the two's battle area. After getting a little closer, fencing player Vista and his partner exchanged a glance, chuckled, and then suddenly sprang into action. Rose Dance. Shining Collision. Jaw's arms shimmered brilliantly in the sunlight, as if composed of countless dazzling diamonds. His muscles were taut, brimming with explosive power, and each swing stirred up a gust of wind. Vista had already soared into the air, his figure shining brightly in the sunlight. The two swords wielded simultaneously in his hands, like two nimble silver snakes weaving through the air. Red rose petals drifted down from the tip of his sword. These were no ordinary flowers, each petal contained powerful sword energy, capable of easily slicing through steel. These petals danced in the air, creating a sea of red flowers. They crisscrossed, like a giant net, enveloping the entire battlefield. Damn it! Aokiji's brows furrowed tightly, her face filled with disbelief and anger. He never expected that at such a crucial moment, Yozu and Vista would suddenly launch a sneak attack on him. Pirates are indeed pirates, they'll stop at nothing to achieve their goals. Despite being filled with strong resentment towards this treacherous act, at this moment, the more important thing is how to deal with the crisis at hand. He tried to mobilize the power within his body to counterattack or defend, but it all seemed too late. Yozu's diamond-hard right arm slammed into Aokiji's chest with astonishing speed and power. This blow not only caused the latter a sharp pain, but also sent him flying back several steps. While he was still struggling to regain his footing, Vista had already caught up quickly and left a long wound on King Z's unsuspecting back with his extremely sharp long sword. Immediately afterwards, Ace joined the attack, his fists carrying powerful flames. It struck Aokiji's chest with unstoppable force, worsening Aokiji's already serious injuries. As this series of fierce and precise attacks landed, King Z finally couldn't hold on any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. Residual blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, and his body collapsed limply to the ground. Just when King Z thought these people would take advantage of his illness to kill him, an unexpected scene unfolded. Instead of rushing towards him as he expected, the pirates swarmed towards the blood he had vomited, frantically collecting it. They carefully bottled the precious liquid, as if it were some rare treasure. Ha ha ha, this is mine. Mine, all mine. The power of the Ice Fruit. Leave a portion for Ace and Yozu, and don't anyone take it. Aokiji stared at the scene before him, his heart filled with doubt and confusion. He couldn't understand why these pirates were so interested in his blood, even risking their lives to steal it. Could it be that his blood holds some unknown secret or value? We can't worry about that now. Although they didn't understand the meaning behind the 3 golden lights, they gained even more useful information. A user with 2 devil fruit abilities has appeared in the Whitebeard pirates. Ah, what an unforgettable experience! Captain Ace of the 2nd Division, I'll remember you. Aokiji stood up, wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and lazily looked at these people. I have something to do today, I'll call again next time. Moonwalk. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a sudden step forward, his foot seemingly piercing through the invisible air, leaving a faint afterimage in the void. Immediately afterwards, he stomped on the air repeatedly, each stomp increasing his speed to a new level. The air seemed to be torn apart by his speed, creating gusts of whistling wind. All they saw was King Z's figure growing increasingly blurry, like a bolt of lightning streaking across the sky, disappearing from their sight in the blink of an eye. All that remained was the fading sound of the wind and a gaze filled with gratitude and reluctance to part. Ace, I think the few of us can keep Aokiji here. Yozu was eager to try, clearly wanting to raise the bounty. Baista seemed particularly excited, and he carefully took out an exquisite glass bottle from his pocket. He moved with extreme care, afraid of wasting even a single drop. Then, he began to carefully collect blood from the weapon, each drop so precious that it could not be lost. Brother Qiao, it's already quite an achievement that we were able to successfully ambush and severely injure King Z this time. As he spoke, Vista shook his head. He gently placed the small vial filled with blood into his inner pocket and patted it lightly to make sure it was safe. However, if we want to completely retain a naval admiral. At this point, Vista paused, his gaze becoming deep, as if he were pondering some profound question. I'm afraid we'll really have to pay a huge price, he added slowly, his voice filled with helplessness and heaviness. For them, although they had achieved a partial victory, facing such a powerful enemy, achieving final victory would not be easy, and might even require sacrificing the lives of several comrades as a condition for success. Is it that amazing? Zhao's eyes widened. Of course, never underestimate any general. Ace nodded in agreement, saying, the admiral truly lives up to his title, cough cough. His face paled, and he staggered a few steps before regaining his balance. He smiled and remarked, the phoenix form's regenerative abilities are truly monstrous. The attack that severely depleted my stamina just now has almost completely healed in such a short time. A user with 2 devil fruit abilities is truly insane. Let's go back and get the first mate for me too. I want Daddy's Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Me too. Chapter 16. Naval Headquarters. Aokiji's return went unnoticed by anyone, because the sensation caused by a general returning injured on a mission was far too great. Inside the marshal's office, Sengoku, Garp, Vice Admiral Tsuru, and the injured Aokiji were all in the conference room, but their faces were all grim. They sat silently in their respective seats, as if brewing some kind of storm. A tense and oppressive atmosphere filled the air, so thick that you could hear even your own breathing. After a long silence, Sengoku stood up from his chair, breaking the stillness with a deep, powerful voice, Aokiji, are you sure you're not mistaken? Aokiji raised his head, looking lazily at Sengoku, and replied, Aira, I'm sure. Upon hearing Aokiji's affirmative answer, Sengoku scratched his head, looking somewhat troubled. He knew what this meant. If Aokiji wasn't wrong, then the entire Navy headquarters would face a huge threat, a threat that could not only affect their safety but also shake the order of the entire maritime world. Things are getting complicated, Garp. Shouldn't you say something? Garp stuffed all the senbei in his hand into his mouth at once, took several big bites, and then swallowed it. What can I say? What can I say? Ace has always been very opinionated since he was a child, and I wasn't even there when he went to sea. After that, he obtained the flame fruit and became a member of the Whitebeard pirates. Then what happened next, you all know. And what about that mythical Zoan Phoenix form? I'm just as clueless as you are, I have no idea either. Garp laughed heartily, his expression clearly showing he was enjoying the spectacle, but inwardly he was quite pleased. That kid Ace could now even hold his own against an admiral, that was impressive. Seeing his former master's expression, Aokiji shook his head, Ace had indeed surprised him. Humph! Garp, you're to blame for all of this. Sengoku saw Garp's irritating look and wanted nothing more than to punch him. A dual devil fruit user. I never expected the Whitebeard pirates to have a dual devil fruit user. Lieutenant General Tsuru's face tightened. The situation is very serious. He then began his analysis. First, the Whitebeard pirates, contrary to their usual practice, chose a small island as their base, and stayed there for several months. Then 3 strange golden lights appeared, very mysterious. Perhaps they knew all along that something was there. Finally, Ace's dual devil fruit powers were revealed. If there were no connection between these things, even a fool wouldn't believe it. Sengoku nodded in agreement, then looked up at the window and calmly said, Ace's transformation is definitely related to the golden light that appeared earlier. Do you think it's possible that some scientific research allowed Ace to gain the abilities of 2 devil fruits? Sengoku's speculation instantly reminded Aokiji of something, and he broke their conversation by adding, Wait, while fighting them, they were very enthusiastic about my blood. Even if it means injuring myself, I want my blood, and I keep shouting that I want to become a user of 2 or even 3 devil fruits. A startling statement. Sengoku sat bolt upright, slamming his hand on the table to confirm. It must be. I'm absolutely certain now that the Whitebeard pirates possess a method to make someone a user of 2 or even 3 devil fruits. Lieutenant General Tsuru frowned deeply. This situation is extremely serious. We must find a solution immediately, otherwise the entire sea will experience massive turmoil. It must be that a scientist or similar talent has emerged over there. The Whitebeard pirates have never had a situation like this before. Garp also became serious, the situation was indeed very serious. Etc. Crane's expression suddenly turned grim, a worrying thought lingered in her mind. Do you think it's possible that Whitebeard also became a user of 2 or even 3 devil fruits? What? That's possible. The entire office fell silent instantly, the atmosphere tense, almost eerily quiet. Whitebeard is already at the level of a Yonko, Emperor of the Sea. If he were to gain another devil fruit power, wouldn't that cause an upheaval? I don't think there's much hope. You know, using devil fruit abilities requires stamina, and using 2 devil fruit abilities requires even more stamina. Whitebeard's current physical condition absolutely prevents him from using the abilities of both devil fruits. Don't forget Ace's phoenix form, besides being a Zoan type, he's also a mythical Zoan. Its recovery and healing abilities are both top tier. As the Cranes analyzed the situation, they realized that the real circumstances might be many times more severe than they had imagined. Aokiji rubbed his temples, his headache worsening. Oh my! If that's really the case, this ocean will be quite a sight. Sengoku adjusted his glasses. Marco's phoenix form possesses extremely strong healing and regenerative abilities. Judging from Ace's situation, Whitebeard must have obtained this ability. His physical condition has probably recovered significantly by now. And it's highly likely they've returned to their peak. Old man from the Warring States period, don't be so pessimistic. It's all just our speculation. Perhaps Whitebeard doesn't want to cause any trouble and is still as sickly as before. Who can say for sure? Garp chuckled and comforted him, though he himself didn't believe his own words. To find out the true situation, we need to send someone over to investigate further. As he spoke, he turned around, picked up the Den Mushi from the table, and dialed the number. A short while later, the sound of dragging footsteps and someone's muttered complaint came from outside the door. Immediately afterwards, the door creaked open. No, Mr. Zhangguo, I am currently on legal leave. You need to compensate me for interrupting my vacation like this. Kizaru sat grumbling in his chair, then noticed the room was full of people. Mr. Garp, Vice Admiral Tsuru, Aokiji. He also realized that there might indeed be special circumstances. What's going on? Why is everyone gathered here? Then he noticed the bloodstains at the corner of Aokiji's mouth, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Aokiji, are you injured? All right, Borsellino, something has indeed come up. Sengoku interrupted Kizaru's speculation and recounted the events that had just transpired, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. He downplayed the issue of his salary subsidy, saying that the subsidy was available, but they would discuss when it would be paid. Kizaru wasn't in a hurry, he still had a few years before retirement. How terrifying, all these newcomers on the high seas have become dual devil fruit users. Then he looked thoughtfully at the Warring States period. The marshal means for me to go and gather intelligence, to investigate the truth of this matter, right? Sengoku glanced at him, as if to say, isn't that a rhetorical question? He then glanced at Aokiji, and Kizaru was also looking at him. Oh my god, I'm badly injured, what are you looking at me for? Cough cough, cough cough cough. Okay, I'm going to go. Kizaru looked miserable, his face contorted with rage. He was on vacation, but was inexplicably called out to work overtime, and not only that, he had no idea when he would even receive overtime pay. What bad luck! Chapter 17. It's all those damned pirates' fault. We have to get all the interest back from them this time. Moreover, these guys are truly bizarre. They managed to research and implement things that even Vegapunk hadn't fully figured out. The effect was quite obvious, even Aokiji was injured. Jaya Island. A group of squad captains, their faces beaming with excitement, grinned from ear to ear, and returned to their base arm in arm, cheering. Whitebeard was practicing his swordplay in the courtyard. He wielded the cloud cutter with unparalleled skill, his movements fluid and powerful, each swing seemingly accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. Under the sunlight, his tall figure appeared exceptionally imposing. The broadsword in his hand was like a nimble dragon, sometimes swirling and dancing, sometimes slashing straight down. Every move was full of power and beauty. Phew! As the final strike landed, Whitebeard stood firmly, having completed a full sword technique. His expression remained calm, and his breathing was steady, showing no signs of becoming rapid due to the intense movement. On the contrary, his eyes gleamed with excitement, clearly very satisfied with his performance. Looking at the broadsword in his hand, a strong sense of satisfaction welled up in his heart. This sword was not only his weapon, but also his friend and partner. All around was silent, broken only by the occasional chirping of birds. Whitebeard stood there, quietly feeling the power flowing through his body, as if the whole world had stood still at that moment. After a while, he gripped the broadsword tightly again, seemingly intending to try again. This scene was witnessed by Ace and the others who had just returned, and they hurriedly stepped forward with concern. Dad, even though you've recovered, you still need to rest. Yozu chuckled and joined in, Dad, we all know you're still got it, but you really should listen to Ace and get some rest. Grrrrrrrr, you little devils, when did it become your turn to lecture me? Murakumagari was forcefully shoved into the ground by Whitebeard, instantly creating a large crater. The ground cracked and split like a spider web, spreading outwards in all directions. The knife seemed to possess boundless power, tearing the earth into countless tiny fragments. The surrounding air rippled due to the immense tremor, as if time itself had stood still at that moment. I know my own physical condition, there's no need to worry. Then he asked why these people were so happy. What, judging from your expressions, Aokiji didn't get the better of you, did he? At this point, they became even more excited, repeatedly recounting their glorious victory. Everyone was talking at once, and it took the white-bearded man a while to understand. Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr returns to the naval base, Sengoku, Garp, and those old guys definitely won't let this go so easily. This sea is destined to be anything but calm. However, although Whitebeard said that, his expression showed no concern whatsoever, and neither did the others, they weren't worried at all. With Ron around, who's afraid of who? It should be the Navy that's afraid of them. Dad, let's go give this blood to Ron first. Yes, yes, the blood should be fresh. It's a good opportunity to see how Captain Ron's research is going. The ice fruit. That's the ability of a Marine Admiral. I never thought we'd have it too. Hehe, I can't wait any longer, I'm off. Seeing the crowd's high spirits, Whitebeard became interested and decided to go with his sons to see Ron. Gururara, today is so much fun. Dad, I'm going to see Ron too. The group quickly arrived at Ron's experimental base. Seeing the busy crew inside, they remarked on how demanding their first mate's job was. They spent their days drinking and eating outside, while Ron was busy in the lab from morning till night. Thinking about this, I felt a sharp pang in my heart. The first mate is truly too selfless. They work day and night to make us stronger, it's so touching, sob sob. Ron has been so good to us, how can we ever repay him? A group of people stood at the door, moved to tears, beating their chests and stamping their feet, hugging each other in comfort, constantly murmuring Ron's name as if Ron had died. Hey, what are you doing? Crying like this at my gate, it's like you're giving me a funeral. Ron, wearing a pristine white lab coat, walked slowly out of the laboratory with a look of confusion and surprise on his face, his eyes revealing a bewilderment as if he had just experienced something incredible. Ha ha ha, Ron! Ace's eyes lit up the moment he saw Ron, as if he had seen a long-lost friend. He excitedly rushed forward and gave Ron a big bear hug. However, due to Ace's excessive excitement, the force of the hug exceeded Ron's expectations. Cough cough. Ron was shocked by the sudden enthusiasm and even had trouble breathing. He struggled to push Ace away, but the other seemed completely unaware that he had used too much force. All right, I haven't even told you yet, why are you here so early? Ron finally found a chance to speak, his tone tinged with a mix of helplessness and teasing. Did you eat some kind of precognitive fruit? Did you know my experiment was about to succeed? Upon hearing that Ron's experiment was